Hello, everyone. X-Walk Hill Bethelite here. And yes, Katt Williams is from Dayton, Ohio, or used to live in Dayton, Ohio. I've mentioned this in other videos, I'm sure. Probably years back in the past, I mentioned Katt Williams lived in Dayton, Ohio. I lived in Dayton, Ohio. His family were Jehovah's Witnesses. My family knew his family. We both, I think, went to the same Kingdom Hall. Back in the day, I used to walk home from school. Now, in doing that, I ended up walking by Katt Williams' house. They used to live right by the Kingdom Hall off of Cambridge. The one in Dayton, Ohio, the one that got sold to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Kingdom Hall that Katt Williams' family used to go to, from my knowledge, is the same one that I used to go to on Cambridge in Dayton, Ohio, that is now a Seventh-day Adventist church. I did a video on that too, filming the Kingdom Hall that used to be a Seventh-day Adventist church. Years and years and years back. But what happened is Katt Williams goes on an interview. Now, Katt Williams always goes on interviews. Katt Williams is a famous comedian. He's been in movies. He's always being interviewed. Well, this interviewer must have done his homework on Katt Williams. So Katt Williams, a very dynamic character, gets on Club Shay Shay. You can look this up on YouTube. And while he's on the show, he's going at everybody. Katt Williams, the whole theme that he keeps on repeating is that in 2024, we going after everybody. We revealing all the truth. We're going to tell everything about everybody. In 2024, we keeping it real. Everything hidden will be exposed. So he gets in there and starts talking about Cedric the Entertainer, and he gets in there and starts talking about all these other people, and he's telling everything about them. Well, it's so interesting that Katt Williams kept saying that in 2024, everything is going to be revealed, because Shannon Sharpe is the person who was interviewing him. On Club Shay Shay, I believe is the name, if you're looking it up on YouTube so you can watch the interview. Shannon Sharpe says, your parents used to be Jehovah Witnesses. Asking him. Now, this is the same Katt Williams that's telling everything about everybody else. Well, he kind of slowly answers that question and doesn't go into the greatest of detail, but he does mention that he and his father got into an altercation, that I believe they were trying to disfellowship him for something that he said he didn't do, and apparently someone was saying that Jehovah is saying that they did do it, or something to that effect. All that stuff came out. And it's interesting that Katt Williams does not, he telling everything about Cedric the Entertainer. But when regards to Katt Williams' family, he's not outright saying they're in a cult, even though I think Shannon Sharpe did his research. He knows it's a cult. That's the reason you don't bring Katt Williams on the show and say, your family's Baptist. Who cares? It's no big deal. There's no reason to bring that up. You don't bring Katt Williams on the show to say, so your family's Catholic. So nobody wants to watch an interview with someone asking Katt Williams if his family's Baptist or Catholic or Pentecostal. No, Shannon Sharpe brought it up for a reason. He was bringing up interesting things about Katt Williams and his background. Somewhat controversial things were being mentioned on that show. So it was going along with that theme. Your family, or you were brought up Jehovah Witness. Your family is Jehovah Witness. He brought that up specifically. Katt Williams does not tee off on it and start revealing everything about Jehovah Witnesses. He actually is very, very, he tries not to talk about it too much. And I think it gets brought up in another interview after that one as well. Well, the question that I would have for you is, why do you think Katt Williams is openly talking about anything and everything and everybody, but when it comes to his family, why don't you think he's revealing everything about the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses? Keep in mind, their house was right next door to the Kingdom Hall. Like, they didn't even have to drive to the Kingdom Hall. I used to walk home from school, and along the way, I would walk past the Kingdom Hall that was on Cambridge. The Kingdom Hall from me was probably about 2 blocks away. For Katt Williams and his family, the Kingdom Hall had to have been like right next door. Like, it was right there. And the reason why that's interesting is that Katt Williams' brother, I would walk past the Kingdom Hall. Their house, Katt Williams' house, was right next to there. So I would be walking past Katt Williams' house. And virtually every time I walked past Katt Williams' house, his brother would be there waiting on me. Because me and his brother wrestled like 8 quadrillion times. I think Katt Williams was older than me. I think he was in an older crowd, right? At the hall. Like, we knew of him, but it just, I don't think I didn't hang out around him because he's older. His younger brother was around my age, and me and his younger brother wrestled all the time. Basically, for me to be able to get home, I would have to wrestle Katt Williams' brother. Now, if I did not win, I had to give him my backpack, which essentially means I can't go home. I can't go home and I ain't got no backpack, no school supplies, no books, no nothing, and just say, you know, such and such took it from me. So I would have to wrestle him until I got my backpack, or until I won and I got to keep my backpack. Then I would go home. He would come over our house. And I remember my mother had a room divided. There wasn't a door dividing it. So she put up these long beads, put up all these long beads, and that was the divider between this room that didn't have a door. You would have to kind of like open up the beads and walk through. Well, somehow those were falling down or something, and I had a whole bunch of beads in my hands, and they looked like jewels to me. So I brought them up, and I can't remember if his brother's name was Steven or which one it was, but I brought it upstairs to his brother, and I said, let's wrestle over these jewels. So I remember my mother, and I think some of his family was sitting on the couch, and I sat the jewels in the middle, and would wrestle. You know, it'd be funny if it was Katt Williams some of these times, but Katt Williams says he was taller when he was younger. But the Williams that I was wrestling was shorter than me. So I don't think that was Katt Williams. I think that was his brother. And believe it or not, he actually won. And he's like, I'm taking your jewels. And so, yeah, Katt Williams is from Dayton. Our families knew each other. They would come over our house. We'd go. I don't remember being over his house, but they would come over our house, wrestle and all that stuff. I just remember walking past his house all the time. And he left, but he left pretty young. Like he's saying about 13, 14. So the whole JW lifestyle, you know, for a man Katt Williams' age, he's got to be older than me. It's got to be way, way, way back in his past if he left it at like 13 or 12 or never really even lived it if he wasn't doing it back when he was 12 and 13. You know what I mean? So when your family's in the cult, even though you left it at 12 or 13, it's still very much a part of your memory. It's much a part of your life because your whole family's in it. You interact with your family or you don't interact with your family, and it has to do with the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. So it continues to affect you throughout your life. Think about every time you call or text your mother or father or brother or sister. You know what I mean? It affects you that often because each time you get in contact with them, they're always trying to pull you in the cult. So Katt Williams would definitely remember, growing up Jehovah's Witness, and he would definitely know how it is interacting with family members who are in the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, but he wasn't mentioning very much. He wasn't hardly saying anything about it. He kept wanting to go talk about Cedric the Entertainer stole his joke a zillion years ago. But what about this cult? The cult is way more interesting than Cedric doing a joke about a car where he's pretending like he's in a car, and Katt Williams did a joke about a car, and Katt Williams says Cedric the Entertainer stole his car and joke, his car joke. The being raised in a cult is more interesting, Katt Williams. That's where Shannon Sharpe was going. So I talked to Serenity about this because I was trying to figure out if Katt Williams is so open, if Katt Williams is not afraid of Hollywood, if Katt Williams is not afraid of all these powerful people he's talking about or people that's in his profession, that it might be easier to get along with than not get along with because they're somewhat famous also. Why is he so bold to speak out against all these people, but not against the cult? He wouldn't want to say very much about the cult. Well, after I talked to Serenity about it, she brought up a really good point. Basically, she said that, well, Katt Williams is probably not on the best terms with his father, because Katt Williams didn't bring up very much about anything in regards to his family, but he did talk about his father. He wasn't ashamed to talk about his father, and that they were in an altercation and all this other stuff. So he may or may not have the best relationship with his father, but Serenity said he probably does talk to his mother. He probably, at least, they text back and forth. They may email. They may even call and have whole, conversations about, different things. So Katt Williams may still talk to his mother. That is the reason why, in my opinion, and in Serenity's opinion, that Katt Williams doesn't want to talk much about the cult and talk much about his family life. Because if he were to outright speak out against the cult, well, then that might get back to his mother and the elders in the same hall that are with his mother. And they may sit her down and say, well, hey, he's come out directly and spoken out against Jehovah's Witnesses, this cult. The elder's not going to call it a cult, but it is a cult. And we don't think that you should associate with him anymore, speak to him anymore. He's directly come out and he's the devil now because he won't listen to us, the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that type of a stance, if he were to speak out against the cult, or if he were to essentially, disassociate himself from the cult by speaking out against that, the same way he's speaking out against Cedric the Entertainer and all these other people, and stating that I was raised in it, but I have nothing to do with it. Like, if he were to make that statement, I was raised in it, but it's a cult, I don't have anything to do with it, and I'm not going back to it. If he were to make a statement like that, then that might affect his mother, because you have to understand that oftentimes people in that cult, the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, they only speak to people. The only reason they talk to people is you are either A, in their cult, or B, they think at some future date you might join their cult. If they believe that you're neither in their cult and you're not going to join it, well, they ain't got no reason to speak to you, because that is an extremist cult. Extremist cults don't get along with anybody unless they think that they're in their religion with them, or they may come into it in the future. Other than that, they ain't getting along with you. So Katt Williams may be avoiding the elephant in the room, the thing that's way more interesting than Cedric stealing one of his jokes. It's the being raised in a freaking cult of all things. Not only did he have to go figure out how to live in Florida or wherever he ran off to at a really young age, but even before that, he was in a cult. Wow, what a life story. So something that interesting, I don't think Katt Williams would, for no reason, mention that he essentially was homeless for a while and left home at an early age and went through all these struggles. He'll mention all that, but just forget the whole cult part? No, he didn't forget it. He purposely is not mentioning it. He's purposefully, when Shannon Sharpe asks, are they Christian? He directly is going at it to see if Katt Williams will come out and say, yeah, it's a cult. No, it's not. It's a cult. They follow Watchtower, not Jesus. They follow Watchtower, not Jehovah. He kept poking and prodding around that religion, and Katt Williams would not come out and flat out speak against it at all. I think it's because he's afraid the cult will take away his mother. And the whole relationship that he has with his mother could be in jeopardy if he feels, or if she feels, he's taking a stance where he's not going to ever come back to that cult, or taking away all hope that they might get him to return to the cult. Or if Katt Williams is giving them all kind of donations and whatnot because his mom is there, if they feel like they won't get any more of those donations, right? All of those things, if any of the above happen, the cult, including his mother in the cult, may turn against Katt Williams, and he may not be able to then speak to his mother anymore. Can you imagine being on an interview? This is how bad the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses is. And an interviewer bring up the religion of your parents, and you, on the interview, have to stop and think about how you're going to answer that question, because you may never speak to them again based on how you answer. That is extreme. That is a cult. That is an extreme cult. That is something that a lot of us go through, where we are forced by Watchtower to dance along this line, to step on eggshells around the subject of our families, because we don't want to say anything that's going to cause us to get shunned. And in my opinion, and I think Serenity agrees, the reason why this bold person, Katt Williams, is bold enough to get on stage in front of thousands of people and tell jokes. He'll get on TV. He'll get on the radio. He'll have millions of views on he'll be on a movie. He'll talk about everybody in Hollywood and reveal everything. But he don't want to talk about the family very much. And I think that's because the cult would affect him. Think about it. Think about how powerful that cult is to be able to cause someone like a Katt Williams to kind of dance around something. He don't even seem like the type to dance around anything. He seems pretty blunt and just out with everything. So that's serious. That's very serious. Growing up, it was literally fighting words for somebody to say, yo mama, when you think about losing family and things that affect your mother. Literally fighting words was yo mama. All you had to do was say yo mama, and whoever it was that you said it to, if you said it and it was a group of people, everybody had to stop, figure out who you said it to, because whoever you said it to, they had to fight you then, because that's the line that you can't cross. It's people's moms, right? You can't cross that line, because if you do, you might not like the result. It's dangerous what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing with the shunning and it affecting people's mothers. For a lot of people, by it affecting their father, it's really hurtful. But the mother, those are fighting words. You know, anything involving the mother, that's serious, right? So Watchtower taking away people's mothers, that could cause some obviously not so good things, right? And I think we have seen some of those things in the news where a Kingdom Hall might get burned down, or people in India get blown up, or Kingdom Halls in Germany getting shot up, and you know, all kinds of things going on all over the place. There was a guy who was out in field service, you know, doing a knocking on doors and things like that. Well, he was sitting out in the car and got shot. Like, all these things that happen, who knows? Some of them may have been surrounding somebody's mother. The cult trying to take away somebody's mother. It needs to stop before somebody gets hurt or more people get hurt. Right? I make that statement, and then it is a choice after that. You can warn people, you can warn Jehovah's Witnesses, but then after that warning, it's a choice that they make after that to then knowledgeably, knowing of the warning, decide not to heed it and just keep on with the whole shunning thing. And I'm talking again in regards to people's mothers and you know, there are stone cold killers that don't care about anything, but they want their mother to come visit them in prison. They ain't afraid of nobody in that prison. They ain't afraid of the legal system. They ain't afraid of nothing on the planet. But that stone cold killer still wants to talk to his mom. Think about it. It's you don't want to take the most basic thing in our society away from people, and that's people's moms. You don't get too much of more of a basic social structure than your mom, right? So again, what we saw with Katt Williams is the effect, in my opinion, of him going against his character and actually withholding information about his family and not really coming out and saying it's a cult. I haven't even heard Katt Williams flat out say, yeah, they're a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses, unless someone else like Shannon Sharp brought it up first. So I think the reason for that is because of the terrible shunning practices where the cult, I'm talking people's own mothers will stop talking to them. And this is done on a global basis because they're everywhere. Jehovah's Witnesses all over the place. So this is done on a global basis and can cause a lot of harm to a lot of people. Jehovah's Witnesses don't seem to be concerned about the harm that can be done to other people by that type of shunning. They do seem concerned, however, when things happen to them. That seems to catch their interest there. They notice those things, right? So comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you watched any of the recent Katt Williams interviews when he was interviewed by Shannon Sharp. It's a long interview. And Shannon Sharp brings up the Jehovah Witness family and the person just, talking about everything and everybody all of a sudden starts, not saying very much. Let me know if you think that's the reason why. And 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.